Hello, everyone, and sorry about the noise in the background, but I have the windows open, so a little bit more noise than normal, I guess. So today, I'm actually going to be posting this on time because it is 9/11, and honestly, I wasn't going to make a video about this, but to be honest, it's something that I should do, especially over the fact that I lived in New York and I was around during that time. So if you're actually watching this video purely on the story time and 9/11, just know that I was not near the buildings. I wasn't in if I wasn't near the buildings, then I wasn't in the buildings, but wasn't in the buildings nor near the buildings. I was actually in Brooklyn at the time, and I was in school. I remember it correctly as English. Well, I was supposed to say if I remember it correctly, but now that I think about it, now that I go back, yeah, I was in English class. But like I was saying, I normally talk about random stuff, like I'll play games, little app games. I'm not big hardcore fan of video games anymore. I used to be. I talk about my fertility journey pretty much. And again, like I said, it's random. So I'll talk about reviews, story time, etc. So if you think that is something that you would like to see, feel free to subscribe. Honestly, I'm not trying to do this video just for subscriptions, but I have to put it out there that obviously this is not something that I'm going to be talking about constantly. I'm not a conspiracy channel or anything quite like that. This is a random channel. This is for random things. So let's begin. So now I'm going to do a story time about my experience with 9/11. This is a tough subject because I lived on a block close to a raised up highway. And this highway went from, if I'm not mistaken, it went from Brooklyn to Manhattan. It pretty much connected you to Brooklyn to Manhattan. Or somewhere down the line it connected. But either way, you could actually jump on that highway to get into Manhattan. And the saddest part was pretty much every night. You know what? Let me tell you the story. Let me tell you the full-on story. I don't want to keep jumping backwards and forwards. So I remember I was living with my aunt at the time. My aunt, my uncle, my two cousins. Street-wise, I'm not going to give you the exact street, but I did live in the 60s between lower numbers. Again, like I said, I cannot give you the exact building address, obviously, because, it's not, first of all, it's not even my building anymore. Second of all, even if it was my building, it's privacy. Like, I don't even show my face, or I try not to show my face. I try not to show details. So anyways, my school was, I would say, like, I can't even remember the exact coordinates, but I know that it was around 20th Avenue and like between 60th and I guess I'm sorry, 64th or something like that, and like 58th or something. I don't remember, but it was somewhere around there. So honestly, like my memory is shot. I don't remember going from my home that morning to school. I'm not even gonna lie. I don't even remember what we were working on. Like everything is a complete blank. But when it came time to hearing what went on, feeling what had happened, I mean, I remember that clearly. I remember that as if it was yesterday. It was crazy. Now, I'm not a morning person. I hate waking up in the morning. So when I was going there, I mean, like, I totally blanked out. But what I guess woke me up was I felt something. Seriously, I didn't hear anything. But I felt like a shimmer, like my building just kind of like shook a little bit. And we were pretty solid building. It was a building that was kind of, from what I can assume, it was just one big square and there was like a hole in the middle. That was like a little courtyard kind of thing. So I kind of remember that. And for some reason, that just didn't dawn on me like something freaking happened. But like I said, I don't remember hearing anything. So like moments pass, and I did not know that this little information about my teacher at the time, but I found out then. My teacher's brother worked for one of the corporations in one of the towers. Now, I remember this specifically because, like, I look at it and I'm just like, wow, how did you mix the two up? The teacher came into the classroom frantic. My English teacher, she was just like, what's going on? She was confused. The woman had turned over to my teacher and said that your brother, I know your brother works in one of the buildings, and I just wanted to tell you that it was the first building that hit. And she goes, I know that the first, sorry, hold on. She said that one of the buildings was hit, and that it was the building that your brother worked in. Sorry, I had to gather my thoughts. Like I said, this is kind of like a little sad subject. It's kind of hard. My teacher was like, what do you mean hit? What do you mean? And she was like, a helicopter ran into the building. My teacher was frantic. I mean, of course, this is her brother. So she ran out of the classroom. She threw down her papers. She threw down her pen. She just ran out. At the time, we had a chalkboard. I don't know if all of the buildings, the school buildings, actually made chalkboards obsolete, but I know that we had a chalkboard. So the teacher that was in the class kind of like erased everything off the board, and she was kind of taking over the class as if nothing was happening. She didn't tell us anything, and we're sitting there like, okay, what's going on? She didn't want to tell us anything at the time. So we're doing our work, and then a little later, because the class was almost over, so like we hear the bell and we leave. We're going to our next class, and we're getting through our next class, and then in the middle of the class, you hear people outside just sort of talking about the Twin Towers, and like we thought nothing of it, it was an accident, or it should have been an accident, right? I mean, at the time we hoped everybody was okay, but we, again, like I said, we didn't think it was going to be anything serious. Come to find out from one of the other teachers that it was an airplane, and that a second airplane hit the second tower. Being a New Yorker, you would assume that, hey, I really don't have to go there now. I mean, I could do it later. I don't have to go there now. I could do it later. I never actually got to go into the Twin Towers. That's just like a small, like, sadness of mine. The biggest sadness is obviously people losing their lives, like innocent people losing their lives. I never actually got to go, which is weird. Oh, and if you want to know why my first period was like so late, some people have their first period a little earlier, some people have it a little late. I had it a little late. So maybe for someone, it was their first period, was around 7 or 8. I don't know. But mine, that was my time. Like, first period was that time. I know in senior year, I left earlier than a lot of the kids. So, I mean, I don't know why I'm explaining this to you, but I just figured I'd let you know. Some people are probably like, the time frame. So about, I would say 11 or so, all the kids were just frantic. We were worried. It was just one of those things where everybody is on high alert. We want to go home. We want to see if our family's safe, that sort of thing. And so a lot of the kids, were not sent home, to be honest. They weren't sent home. I remember saying, screw this school, I'm leaving. So a lot of the students just up and left. Come to find out that they actually made it a half a day because, I mean, we just had 2 buildings hit, so yeah. Plus parents were picking kids up. They didn't want them in the school at that point. It was just like I said, it was a big mess. So while I had, at the time, I didn't have a cell phone. No one called my school. And even if they did, they probably wouldn't have gotten anywhere. So I walked home. I walked all the way home, and I felt really taken back because at the time when I walked into the house, my cousins were there. Both my cousins were there. My aunt and my uncle were there. And I looked at them and I was just like thinking to myself, no one cared to like find me. No one cared to do anything. Not even my own mom decided to say, the hell with this, I'm gonna find my kid. She didn't even call me, so I was like, oh well. My mom's always been very, very selfish, but that's another story. But I was pretty like let down over the fact that my own family was just like, yeah, we didn't look for you. Thank goodness you're home. I mean, logically speaking, right now, I knew that I was safe, but in the moment, I felt very, very scared, and I felt very, very... Sorry about that. I hate that. Like, I need to turn off the notification sound. I hope that worked. Anyways, so I kind of felt very, very sad about that. The days to come were very hard. because the school had gotten bomb threats, and I was still going to school after the fact. So anytime that we had gotten a bomb threat, I would dip out of the back of the school. And at one point, like, we had gotten a bomb threat, and the principal wanted to chain the doors or lock the doors. I remember hearing one of the teachers say something about chaining the doors. I also remember hearing the other teacher saying, well, she can't do that. That is a fire hazard. However, I did see the police officer, the person that, is supposed to protect the children. I saw him starting to lock the doors. I'm not even lying. Like, I saw him lock the doors. So we were like panicking because we were trying to leave, I mean, it's a bomb threat. I'm not going to stay for a bomb. So one of my friends said, quick, he did not lock these doors. Come on. And she was saying how he was getting to them as soon as he could, but we need to go. So we dipped. So, like I said, the days to come were hard. I feel like for my school, it took a month to get back to some sort of normal schooling life. So yeah, like I was talking about the nights. During the night, while my aunt was on the computer, she would pull up the shade because she was close to the window. And I just remember like trucks, like these white trucks coming back from the city. And my aunt was telling me that those were the trucks that were taking the bodies from the towers over to wherever they need to go. I don't know if she was BSing and telling me that stuff just to make me super sad, or if it was completely true. But I do know that every night I would see them. And to be honest, thinking or knowing that those trucks had a bunch of bodies in them from people who were so cruel to do that act, it's heart-shattering. I'm not going to say that I know how it feels to be those families, because I'm not going to say that. And if you're wondering, my teacher's brother was late to work. Like, very, very late. I was with this guy who was actually at a school at the time, and he said that he was supposed to go to the Twin Towers when he arrived. He arrived to the train station, and all he could see was like papers everywhere. So many papers in that train station. And he said that it was chaotic. It was crazy. People were telling him to just go on the train. And he was like, peace. And he jumped on the next train out of there. And I have to say that, I mean, I take like long pauses because it's very sad. I called my mother because I was worried about her. I mean, apparently she wasn't really worried about me, but I was worried about her. And from both houses, you could see the Twin Towers, or you could sort of see them. But by the time I got home, they were already down. So in their place, it was just black smoke. Thick thick black smoke. So again, like I said, I called my mom and I was wondering how she was doing. And she says she's safe, she's fine. The kids are safe, they were fine. It wasn't really a long conversation, so all I wanted to know was if they were fine. She said that she could see the towers, or she could see where the towers were. She was actually woken up by the loud bang, and which was funny because she's never woken up for anything. You literally have to kick her in her butt to wake up. Other than that, sounds normally don't wake her up. So that was really odd to me. Odd how she actually heard it. I remember I didn't even want to be bothered with watching the news or anything like that because I just knew that another body was going to be found or people were going to war. During that time, I was all for going into the military. I wanted to go into the Air Force. And it's not like I was afraid to go to war because, obviously, if I was going to be in the Air Force, I was expected to. But for some reason, I decided against it. I was just like, I'm not doing this. I mean, at the time, I really wasn't a fan of the president anyway, so I was just, I don't know. I'm sorry if you feel offended with me saying that. I was just not a fan of the president at the time. And I felt, and this is my own feelings, so don't come at me with your pitchforks. I felt like this was his way of getting what he wanted and starting a war. So I said to myself, I'm not going to be a part of that. I just don't want that. When I graduated, they had my picture up for the Air Force because that was what I really wanted to do. But I had a lot of time to think, and I was just like, no, I can't do this. So I went to culinary arts school. Then years later, my brother joins the military because that's what he wanted to do. That was his passion. He wanted to do that ever since he was a little boy. And then he did his boot camp or whatever. I think a couple of months to maybe 6 months later, he called me up and told me that he was going to go overseas. I remember crying, bawling my eyes out. It was just so devastating to hear that. My baby brother was going to war. Now let me clarify something. He's okay. He's good. He's living his life. He's got a child, so he's good. But in that moment, I felt like my heart sank and my brother was in danger. And I'm going to be real with you. He gave me his laptop I think 2-3 years later or something like that. And he didn't, my brother doesn't think sometimes. So he didn't wipe everything away. I mean, he trusted me that much to just not wipe it away. So I have to hurry this up because it's been long. But he didn't wipe everything away. And what I saw was just crazy sauce. It wasn't like I saw anything super classified, nothing like that.